Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to share with you a flip through of the month of April in my Hobonichi Cousin. And right before we start, let me be clear that this is more or less going to be a flip through where you see a lot of empty pages, but I still wanted to share it with you simply because one thing that everyone has to realize is that what you see online is not always the case, in the sense that it is not that everyone has perfectly filled in pages or perfect neat pages every day or every month. There are times like this, like the month of April, where I barely used my planner. So it is not that you should think that everyone has an entire planner filled in so perfectly, and it is fine. Okay, I would prefer to leave it blank rather than force myself to use the planner, because the planner is supposed to help me. It should not be a burden to me. And you will get to see the flip through and also see maybe a little of why I couldn't use it. But the short version of it is simply the fact that I was so busy that I did not have time to actually sit down and plan. So I just did not use it. Of course, I did use it at some point, so it's not completely blank. Nevertheless, you will get to see it soon. And if you have experienced something similar, I would love to listen from you as well. So please put it down in the comments below. And now let us begin. I would just like to start with the cover first. For those who have never used a clear cover before, I just want to tell you that it can get dirty. I have been using this cover for this entire year so far, and it has been going great in terms of the fact that it is lightweight. I don't feel an additional weight just because of the cover. It is almost as if it is not there, but it can get dirty in the sense that dust can go in, especially with the work going on at home right now. And of course, it can also go in the cover. Okay, it can go in, but it's not a big deal actually, because I found that if I just remove the cover and just wipe it down, it goes away pretty quickly. So it does not really bother me as such. So I would definitely recommend this cover if you're interested in having a lightweight clear cover on it. And I would definitely recommend using a cover with the book, because it is just cardstock, it is thin, and the color is such that the book can get dirty pretty easily if you don't have a cover on it. So I would always use a cover with it. Anyway, moving ahead, the first spread that I have to show you is the yearly spread. So I just use this spread for one purpose, which is to track my salary, in the sense that I have multiple income sources. To be more specific, 3. I like to track the day that I receive my income, as well as the amount as such. That is why I covered it up. So it is not that I receive money from all 3 sources every month. Some of it is quite rare, so I need to write it down, so I am more aware of these things as such. And it's a lot easier for me to deal with later when I need to have the entire account with me. The short version of what I do is I use a highlighter, this green color, to indicate the day I receive something, and then in the order that I receive from whichever source, I write down the first letter of that source. I know what it refers to, so, and I write down the amount as such. So 18th is when I received from U, and 19th is when I received from A. So that is the rough idea of it. Of course, that's about it for this spread. So this is a trial thing that I've been just doing this month. Going ahead to the index. The index is exactly that for me. I use it as an index. To be more specific, I use it for the daily pages. I journal or memory keep in the daily pages, and I like to index about it over here, in the sense that last year I noticed that when I went back to my previous planner to search for something, I could not find it in the daily pages. I found it in the end, but it took me a lot of time. So I decided to do this year, so that I can find things more easily as such. Now, as you can see, in April, there is not much written. Clearly, there are only 3 things written. And there is a simple reason, because I did not even use the daily pages much. But I just want to be clear, it is not that I have not used all of these daily pages and that they are empty. There are some pages that I've used that did not come up over here simply because they're not relevant enough to be here. Sometimes I just write about random things, or I journal about my feelings, or maybe I just write about my day, but nothing prominent enough to come up in the index. Whatever comes up here is something that I feel is important enough that I might want to refer to it later, in terms of the fact that I might want to come back to it later as an important account that I need to come back to. But what you see on my daily pages are just as of otherwise fun writing, which I could just generally read without referring to the index. That is why you don't see each and everything over here. Again, this is also a trial. I have not done this before, so I can tell you how well this has worked only next year. I cannot actually talk about that now. But yes, you can see my April and you can see the previous ones. It is quite less in March as well as April. Because like I said, I've not been using my planner much this last few days. Now going on to the monthly spread. I have 3 bookmarks in my planner. Since I use this clear cover, I do not have any additional bookmarks. I have to use my own separate ones. Earlier I used to use the thin Midori ones, and I love them a lot. But I shifted to these ones from EC, which I got in a seasonal surprise box. I like them because they are of different colors, a little bigger, that they stand out, and also because the later ones, you will see them later when I go through them, they have specific words written on them like to do, today, which I feel suit those pages as well. But one thing that I don't like about these bookmarks is just the fact that they leave marks on the pages which go later. Okay, it is not permanent, they will go later once you remove them, but they do leave marks on the pages as such. Currently I have it on the month of April just because I'm sharing it with you. As of otherwise, I have reached mid-May and it should be in May as such. Anyway, let's come to the spread. So this spread is, I would say, not completely empty because this is a pre-planning spread for me, so I wouldn't say that I did not use this, because this was more or less done in advance. So let me go through what was done earlier. Of course, there are some things that are added as the month progresses. Now the first thing that you see over here, that is the only aspect of decoration that you see, which is the washi, has been done long back for all the 12 months. This is empty washi. So I use this to cover up the days of the days that are not a part of this month, and that is more or less what happens for every other month as well. And what I've pre-planned over here are dates and anniversaries, dates of birthdays and anniversaries. And what I've used is a corner sticker from Kita to indicate that, to just highlight the box or the date as such. And then I've written the name of the person, or the initial as such. This one, there was only one. I do not actually like this. I think I like the sticker that I used last year, which was a circle floral sticker, which I could place on the date as well as see the date clearly. Maybe I will go back to that next year, but that is just a matter of preference. I'm just trying out new things every year. That is just a little decorative aspect again. But coming to the rest of the things that you see on the page, they have been added as they took place, or when I came to know they will be taking place over the course of the month. So let's go to the circle stickers first. There are only 2 this month, so there's one here and there's one there. This one indicates my periods, and this one, or the other ones that you would have generally seen on Sundays, are for church related events. Of course, I have a key to all of this at the back of my cousin, but I do not need to refer to it now because I remember it and I don't really need the key, but it is just there in case. Now there are a number of other circle stickers that have not come up this month. But generally each of them indicate different events. A few of them, at least 3 of them, indicate church related events which come up on Sundays, and I need to track them because I am a secretary to one of the committees, and this is very important to me to know the dates, especially at the end of the year when I need to write a report on all that took place as such. Now coming to other things, what I do other than that is write down major events that took place that month. That would be really major events. So I just have 2 of them. The colors do not indicate anything. I've just highlighted it so that they stand out. So two events that took place this month as such. And I also track social media. So how often I upload or post as such, and I just draw the icon or the logo as such instead of using stickers. I know that there are beautiful pretty stickers that I could buy to indicate them, but I prefer to do this and save money instead of buying all those stickers as such. So I have uploaded twice on YouTube and 1 shorts as well, and on Instagram just twice, and 2 community posts on YouTube, which is quite less. Like I said, April was quite a busy month for me. I could not be very active on social media, and that is why you see very few of it this month. But it makes me more aware of how regular I have been, and similarly I update the current number of subscribers or followers I have on YouTube and Instagram respectively. And this is not a matter of numbers, it is just that I try to keep an idea of how regular I have been, and of course how it affects the numbers as well, in the sense that of course I can't expect much from my subscribers or would-be subscribers unless I am regular with posting on YouTube as such. So it makes me more aware of how I should get things done. But I would say that this is more or less an empty month otherwise, because I have not written down the bills. I will try to find them and put it down over here. I think I did not pay any. I can't even remember. It was that sort of a month for me where I could not even remember much. There are no bills that have come up, no other significant things that have come up this month. This is more or less my monthly spread for April. Anyway, let's move on ahead to the next thing, which is the weekly spread. So April starts around here. And I'll just go quickly through the weekly spread about how I use it, and then I will just flip through the rest of them. I do not use the timelines in the weekly spreads because the timelines work for me only in terms of work, and I have a separate work planner, so I don't really need timelines over here. What I do instead is divide the spread into 3 sections. The top one is me time, which I'll go through first, and then there is to do, and the last one is called events, even though I have not titled it over here. So let's go through the first one, which is me time. Now my me time generally includes 2 things. The first one is the book that I have read. Now in April I did not read a single book. That is why you can see the top section empty. I just left it empty over there. But generally this is what it would look like. I write the first letter of the title of the book, and then I write the number of pages that I've read that day. And I like to do that because it makes me more aware of how much is left, how much I could cover in a day, and make me actually read it when I don't even remember to read it as of otherwise. So obviously I don't number it right at the beginning. I just write the title and leave the second line blank. As I complete it, I update the page number as such. I did not read a single book this month, so it is going to be empty on all the weekly spreads. The second line, what you see over here, is language learning. I am learning a new language, and therefore I am watching YouTube videos at the moment to study that. Of course, there are other things as well, but this is what I write down because despite the fact that they are interesting videos, sometimes I'm just too lazy to watch them, and writing it down makes me actually watch them. Now this is written in advance, just to be clear. I don't write it after I have watched it. I write it way before, in the sense that I don't keep a high expectation for myself. I just stick to writing the title of 1 video per day. Now depending on the length of the video, if it's extremely short, I might write the name of 2 videos. As of otherwise, I just write the name of 1 video per day, and then I see to that I watched it. So far it has been working for me, so I don't have an issue with writing it in advance as such. Moving ahead to the to-do list, nothing much to explain over here. This is just my to-do list that I tick off if I completed it and put across if I have not. Then coming down to the events section, I generally title it as events. And events for me, just to be clear, I'm not a party person or an extrovert. I prefer to sit at home most of the time. but there are church events that come up every week, which is more or less on the same day every week, and I could remember it. The only reason I write it again is because I need to track it, because I'm a part of a committee, like I said. And secondly, the place where it takes, the event takes place changes every week. So I need to be aware of where it takes place as well. So that's the only reason I write this down, not that I can't actually remember it. Then coming to the next thing that I have is tracking, habit tracking. So the left hand side is completely for habit tracking. Similarly, the top section that you see here is for tracking. So this is for my water intake. 3 drops indicate 3 bottles of water, and that would be the exact amount that I need in a day. So this is for water tracking. I fill in as needed, as I do. And what you see on the left hand side, so these 3 are not consistent throughout the year. I update it depending on how regular I have been with it, but more or less you will see hair care and skin care throughout my planner. BR was related to something else. Again, it's pretty simple, nothing complicated. I just tick off when I've done it. It's a cross if I have not done it. These stickers that you see here are from EC. I generally don't use stickers, but I think this was from the seasonal surprise box. And when I get things, even if I don't like them, they are not my style, I still use them. So that is why you can see this over here. And what I have right over here is a sleep tracker, because my sleep timings are disastrous. So a sleep tracker to see the amount of hours I sleep as well as the exact time I sleep. I'm trying to be more consistent instead of having random timings. Of course, it will take time. It's not quite easy as such. So anyway, let's move ahead to the next spread. So before that, this is the bookmark that I have. I hope you can see it. It is mentioned as to do, and I think it is perfect. This is what it looks like. Then this is my second week of April, and again stickers from each. So the second week is more or less the same, except that the stickers have changed in color. So I have used these stickers, I think, for the entire month of April, and weirdly, even though I didn't like it at first, I think now when I look at it, it seems to bring at least a pop of color onto my page, and it looks a little bit more interesting as such. Anyway, coming back to the topic, like I said, I did not read a single book this month. The rest of it, I think, has largely remained the same, except for this long list which has crossed into the event section. Let me flip through to the next one. As you can see, you can see it's getting more and more empty with each week that I'm flipping over to. So have not used the me time at all. So the language learning also went down the drain. But just to be clear, just because I've not written down a huge to-do list does not mean that I did not do anything that week. Like I said, I was extremely busy this week. More in terms of work, I would say, and I also felt sick as well. A number of reasons, but yes, as you can see, I've not used the planner much though. Then this is the next spread, which is completely empty. Tracking was disastrous that I gave it up after some point of time. I just think I've written down the events and that's it. And then we come to the last week. So the last week is when I tried to get back to it. So here, as it was completely empty, that is not the case over here. I have at least tried to get back to it with doing my tracking more or less, coming back to language learning, a few to-dos, and of course the events I have maintained throughout. I have at least taken note of the events as such. So this is the last week of April. I'm surprised I even did this much, because the next week I was traveling. In fact I left on the 1st. So at least I managed to get back to it, at least by a little. So that is fine with me. Now let's go on to the daily spreads. The daily spreads every time start with a dashboard. For the dashboard, I always use it to write down something that has interested me that month. It could be a quote, it could be something like a joke, it could be something fun. That is what I do for the day, for the dashboard page. And there is a reason for it. I could probably come up with some functional idea or something productive over here. I purposely avoided that because see, the dashboard is connected to the daily pages, and the daily pages are for memory keeping and journaling. I don't see the point of planning over here when it is more or less something fun to read even in the daily pages as such, or something interesting to read in the daily pages. So I have avoided that sort of functionality over here and gone for something interesting that I would like to read as such. So this is what I wrote for this month. I've learned 2 very important lessons in my life. I can't recall the first one, but the second one is that I need to start writing things down. I think that is so very true. And of course, since it was spring, a lovely reminder of how beautiful change can truly be. So I like this. I don't have any specific talent for decorating or any sort of artistic talent or creativity for that matter, but I just went with these. These I think were again from the seasonal surprise box. So I think I used a number of things that came in the spring seasonal surprise box for April. Now moving ahead. Okay. As far as stickers for the daily spreads are concerned, the daily spreads are generally the only place where I use stickers which are decorative in that sense. The others are more or less functional, and these I always set up in the previous month. So April will be set up in March and May will be set up in April. So I randomly place them on the spreads for the entire month. It is not any specific place as such, it is just completely random. And as always, when I journal this year, what I always try to do at least is, as I write, I try to write the highlight in capital so that they stand out and I can find out quickly what I've written about in that paragraph. So it's not like, because there are some spreads where I've journaled for the entire page, then I have to search for a specific point by reading the entire thing. So I prefer to do it in this way where, one topic stands out and I just can go quickly to that and read through that. But of course there are spreads where I've completely forgotten to do that, but that is fine. I see to that I go through it and put it in my index if it is important as such. And this is how I choose for my index as well. It is quite easy. I don't have to read through the whole thing. I just run through it and fill in my index as such. So I'll just do a quick flip through now. So as you can see, some have been filled in, some are blank. Now, thankfully, I think at this point of time, I'm not one of those people who get easily bothered by the blank pages. I'm not at all bothered, I think. At least last year, I would try to fill this up with something. Right now, I don't feel like even filling it up. Maybe I will do it at some point later in the year, but as of now, I don't particularly care about the blank pages. I'm leaving them as they are. So some have been filled in, a lot of it is blank. As I said, I did not use much of it in April. And this is something else that I tried to do. I was actually not well for a long point of time. And what I did is a little bit of back planning or journaling, in the sense that obviously I couldn't remember much, but what little I could remember, I just wrote a small tiny paragraph so that, at least something relevant of that day came up. But then, of course, largely it's all empty. So all these spreads, as you can see, I wouldn't say they went to waste. I would probably come back to this and use it for some doodling or try out my non-existent talents over here. But yes, a lot of empty spreads. And this is where I try to get back to it. Okay, like I said, even in the weekly spreads, if you have noticed, the last week is where I made an attempt to get back to using it more regularly. Of course, it was not a very strong attempt, but at least I gave it a try, and that makes me happy enough. So this is about it for the month of April. Then we come back to my last spread that I want to show you. I have a library over here, which is basically my to be read section. I used to read a lot, but now I barely read. It's horrible, but at least I have this section. So this is like sort of a cover page. This is entirely washi tape from MT, if I'm not mistaken. And what I've done over here is, these are the covers of the books that I want to read this year. These are from Goodreads, just to be clear. It's not that I've personally selected them. And what I do is, below each book, okay, I have these stars, okay, depending on whether I enjoyed the book or not. Okay, it's not about for me, it's also not about whether the book was great or not. Sometimes it's about whether I managed to read it quickly or I dragged through it and tried to complete it somehow. But anyway, the stars are ratings depending on whether I like the book or not. This green sort of section that you see is depending on how much of the book I complete. And I've also written down the page numbers. This is because this year I have decided that I am going to leave the book halfway if I have to. Last year I tried to force myself to complete a book even though I hated it, and this year it's the opposite decision, but so far I have read completely all the books that I've taken at least. And below that I write down the category. So if it's a fantasy, and what kind of book did I read? Was it an e-book or an audible? And of course the month that I read it in. So this is about it, and you will not find April here because, as I said, I did not read in the month of April. So you can see that Feb was also a month where I did not read. March I read 3 books, which makes me happy. Jan was just 1 book, and April again I've skipped. Then right now I'm in May, which is going good so far. I think I'll be reading a lot in May. That is why I've written it in advance. I should have not written this actually, but I already did that. So that's about it for my Hobonichi Cousin. I hope you enjoyed this flip through. I would love to hear from you to know how April went for you, whether at least it's been going great for you, or you also face this sort of situation where you have not used your planner much when you're way too busy, or for any other reasons that you have. So see you all in the next video, guys. Bye.